Good evening, everybody. Hope you are all well. First in the house tonight is Gemma. Hello, Gemma. Thank you for joining. Hope you're all well. Who have we got? Hello, Trisha. Hello, Sue. Hello, Nikki. How are you all? Oh, we've got loads of new little things come up on Facebook. They've obviously done some updates. Hello, Kim. How are you? Hope you're well. So tonight we are going to be doing a lariat necklace, which I understand the definition of a lariat necklace is sort of one that drapes without any clasps, from what I can gather. Well, mine is anyway. This is one that I wear quite frequently, so it's a little bit, shall we say, well worn. But the principles are the same. So it's all done using seed beads and needle and thread. And we're going to learn how to do this little, my son David's just gotten home and he's pulling faces at the window. He wouldn't come on the video though, I can tell you. And we're going to learn a bit of peyote, which is like a little slider thing to keep them all together as well. I think we've got a few more people joining us, which is lovely. Hello Carol, hello Francis, hello Sharon. I think Sharon, you may be new to the group. Welcome to you. It's lovely to have you join. We'd love to know sort of how you're connected with the group, and I know everybody will give you a warm welcome. They are super lovely. Hello Jackie, hello Shelley, hello Annette. Right, so as always, please just fire any questions in the thread as we're going. It might take a while before I get back to you because I like to try and get into the tutorial, because I'm a little bit like, oh, comment, and then I'm away and I've completely lost my train of thought, and it doesn't take much, I can tell you. So let's go on the overhead. And if you think about any other ways that you can do things, or any ideas that you get, please share them, because that's what it's all about. So I've already done one of them, and this is to actually match a dress that I bought, a little dress from Next, which is kind of reddy pink colour. So I've used these two acrylic beads that are in the thread, which have got like an engraved metallized bit on them, which I love. You can use any bead you like. Crystal rondelles, some of the spaces that I've put in there, they're metallized spaces. These are jade from the jade bead strands that I've got, as are the red. And these are size 10 seed beads, and then I've got the little rondelles and the acrylics there. So I'm going to show you how we're going to do it, and then we'll look at putting both parts together as well. If you're completely new to this, don't worry, I'm going to talk you through everything. First of all, we're going to need a bit of Nymo thread, which is some specialist thread for what we call bead weaving, which is needle and thread work. So you are going to need now double, so that the length, double it, so the full length of thread, and then you're going to at least need to double it, because I'm going to do it twice through the needle, if that makes sense. So it's going to be double thread all along the way, but you know, you want plenty to work with. So I'm just going to cut that. Now I've got some, if you haven't got any already, I mean, this is so well used, as you can see. It's normally in a plastic container, but this is beading wax, and you also use it for sewing as well. I'm pretty sure it's the same wax. So I just bring my thread all the way along there. What does that do? Well, it actually helps to stop it from fraying as you're going, and it also helps to keep the needle on whilst you're beading, because it's quite easy for the needle to drop off. Right, so I'm just going to thread one end on first, and then I am going to pop a seed bead on the end. I'm going to need more seed beads than that. I can see Linda's just joined. Hello Linda. Hope you've had a lovely day with your lovely granddaughter, who is super cute. So we're going to pop that seed bead in the middle of the thread. Let's just zone in for a bit, shall we, so that you can see a bit clearer. So I've just threaded the needle on one side and I'm popping that seed bead in the middle. Let's move that out the way, which is easier said than done. And then what I'm going to do, you might find this a bit difficult. You could always thread two needles if you want to, but I am going to thread the second end through as well. You want to make sure that you're threading them through the same way. But the size 10 beading needles will actually take the Nymo thread through twice. So let me show you what I've done there. So those are my tails and it's gone through twice, and then we've got the seed bead in the middle. Okay, so far. Next I am going to pop on some beads for decoration. You want some weight at the bottom, you know, just to give it a little bit, well, literally for that reason, give it some weight. So these are my spacer beads. You can use bigger seed beads, you can pretty much use whatever you want, but I'll talk you through what I've used so that if you want to use the same sort of pattern you can. So these are the 6x5 rondelles, and those are the 4x3. They're the electroplated ones. So I'm going to pop one of these on top. So if you've never done needle and thread before, do it in daylight. I wouldn't recommend that you start off doing it at night time because it's not the best combination, and you don't strain your eyes, just tap the needle onto what you're actually threading on. I'm going to pop a seed bead in the middle, another rondelle, a seed bead, and then a small rondelle. Isn't that just typical? Nearly got a knot in my thread. Oh, I didn't want two on there. You watch, I'll split my thread now, which is what happens when you undo. Oh, no, that worked out okay. So this is also a good way of using your end of things as well. So I am going to use one of the red, let's find a slightly different shape one of the red rondelles, not the rondelle, sorry, the jade. I just love the jade. It's the jade and the gemstone chips. And I'm just really winging it, if I'm honest, as to what kind of design, but I am using my original as a guide. And then I'm going to string on a number of beads. Now I would say, rather than count the beads, is have a tape measure at hand that you can actually measure it. So rather than keep going back and counting every time, just add the seed beads alongside a measuring tape. So can you see how I'm just literally tapping these with the top of the needle? But would love to know as well, and also for the benefit of people in the group, how many of you have actually done needle and thread work, and how did you find it? What sort of things do you like doing? I know there's quite a few of you that do. Now this is the template for my other strand, so I'm going to use that, and that's the length I want to do. Now the ones I'm working with are red AB check size 10. You can use any seed beads you like. You don't even have to use even coloured seed beads. So if you, for example, got some cheap beads that aren't uniform, you could always use those for this project. So I'm doing a length like so, and you know, I think I'm going to use a little bit of garnet in this. Love a bit of garnet. So have a little spacer, and then let's thread on some garnet, but I'm going to have a little seed bead in between each one. Sorry, let's just move that up a bit so you can see it. And obviously you need to make sure that the beads that you're adding on will fit onto the needle. You might have to occasionally ditch a plan if it doesn't work. But I must admit, I absolutely love these lariats. My mum reminded me I actually made one for her quite a few years ago actually. I had a little crystal rondelle, a blue jade, I will come back to your comments in a second, but do carry on having a conversation with each other. I better not leave it too long, because I've noticed with Facebook is that once you get further down the comment thread, sometimes you can't actually look at the comments. Well, I can't look at the comments until the live is finished, which is very rude, isn't it? 1, 2, 3, 4. Has anybody got children or grandchildren that have had their A-level results today? If they have, I do wish them luck. I do hope they got everything they wanted. It's can be a bit of a stressful time, can't it? I mean, we've got all of ours, apart from David, have all gone through theirs. So we've got a few more years to go. So it's A-levels and GCSEs. I think, is it all out today, or is it just A-levels? Not sure. So you keep doing this, and what I'd recommend you do is measure the length that's comfortable for you and work to that length. Establish yourself a little pattern like this, and then I would work the same amount of seed beads in between. It just makes it flow a lot better, and it's a lot more simplistic. Now what I like to do with the lariats is either have 2 or 3 strands that you lock in together with that little peyote band. You don't even have to have the peyote band if you don't want to. And when you do the other strands, I would have it so that, for example, with this, I would have the other one so that it's slightly out of sync with the other one. So if I So something like that, where you've got one that's slightly longer than the other. And I think that way it just works a little bit better, because you have seed beads sitting in different places on each of the strands. Hopefully that makes sense. But let me know if that all looks and sounds okay so far. The other thing, if you're stuck on colours, do you know, your clothes in your wardrobe can give you an awful lot of inspiration, because people have, you know, if you're like me and you like your colour, people have already done the work with all the colour combinations. So you can quite easily try and marry up what you've got with your clothing. Right, so let's show you that. Okay. That's where we're at so far. So I'm just going to pause for a second and just have a quick look at your comments. Hello, Emma. Oh, Kim's wax looks like that too. It's well used, isn't it? Linda's just dropped her little granddaughter off home and got back. I'm shattered, but it's been a fun day. I bet it has. Kim loves needle and thread work. It's great, isn't it? Hello, Betsy. Don't worry that you're late. No worries. I know it's a different time of day for you, being in the States. Betsy's done it before as well. Carol loves bead embroidery. Frances has done the lariat necklaces, and they are nice to wear. They're so soft and comfortable on your neck as well. I love the fact that there's no clasps with them. So Nikki had A levels and B Tech today. Well, everything crossed, Nikki. I hope they got everything they wanted to get. Kim did a lariat in St. Petersburg stitch and went into a preformed large metal ring. Nice. Gemma, she missed how much thread is needed. We're working with double thread, so you're going to need twice the length plus extras to allow for tying in. So I hope that helps. Now, rather than you seeing me thread on, how are we doing for time? 20 past, because we've still got the peyote to do. Right, let's just zoom out a little bit, and I'm going to put this to one side, and I'm going to carry on with this one. Here's one that I prepared earlier. So I've got, on this one, I've got mahogany obsidian, the red jade, AB amethyst, the mahogany with the rondelles. Okay, so I'm going to carry on with this one, and I will show you how we actually finish off. Now, in my wisdom, I need to just switch over a few things. There's my little bead scoop. Let's pop that away. Don't need those out for now. I don't need the reds out either. Got a few strays left in there as well. Now, I know when I've done some of these before, I'm sure I did one where we had a button attachment on the front as well. So that's your amethyst AB. Got some of those. Don't need those. And we are going with the mahogany obsidian. So these combinations with the jade are already in strings as well, if there's any left, which is the Masham jade, So that already gives you a nice little combination. You've got the rondelles in there, you've got the chips in there already. So I've part started the peyote section as well, but this time I thought, you know what, we'll do what we call double drop peyote, which is just where you're using more beads because it's quicker. So I thought, and also we've done it recently as well. So Gemma's looking forward to starting bead embroidery, been collecting supplies. How wonderful. One of my favourites. What project have you got in mind, Gemma? Have you got sort of a project that you want to do to start off with? There's lots of tutorials I've done on YouTube as well that you may find useful. So I'm doing roughly the same lengths and just a very simple addition every now and then. But is this new to any of you? Because I know there's a couple of you that are perhaps new to beading. And was there anybody that was got the link from Create and Craft on Saturday? I didn't do any beadwork, did I, this Saturday? It's terrible, isn't it? I had to have it prepared so much in advance for the Saturday show because I was doing summer school that when you get there you think, now, what, you're thinking, what was in that kit again? You have to really refresh your memory again. Did I do a tutorial with that? So you can see, you know, it doesn't take that long to do, but equally, don't try and rush it. You just got to bear in mind that obviously when I'm demonstrating, I don't, you know, you're not going to want to watch me dawdling, which is why I like to do a, you know, prep beforehand. Now I'm just going to do a comparison with the other one. Where's the halfway point? So it's down there. Still got a little bit left to do. Right. Just lining that up. And as you can see, it's quite quick. It's so therapeutic to do. It is really, really comfy to wear. I mean, you can always tie it, but I always think when you've done it on a bead woven thread, I'm not so keen on that idea because I just have this feeling that it won't be quite as robust if you keep knotting it, if that makes sense. Now the other thing I thought would look really nice on the bottom, and I'll put some more up in the thread because I've still got boxes, is shells. I've got some, do they call it cowrie shells or something like that? And I thought they would be super nice on the bottom. They've got drilled holes in them. I'm going to need some more seed beads. Now, in terms of seed beads, I weighed these out and I've used about 5 grams of each colour, but I would say collectively you're going to probably need between collectively between 10 and 12 grams to complete the whole, you know, that's a couple of lengths. The bit that I find the fiddliest, I have to say, is probably the end part, is just getting the tension right for actually tying off. That is probably the trickiest part, and it's also really important just to take your time with it. Oops. So I'm just matching what I've got the other side. Blue one. No, that wasn't meant to happen. Got all tangled up. This is the other thing that happens when you're doing bead weaving. It gets stuck to everything. But a bead mat's pretty essential. Or at least a tea towel if you don't have a bead mat. Let's move this out of the way because I think it's a bit confusing, isn't it, visually? Right, one. Good job I haven't got my pyjamas on this week, Kim. Kim thought I got my pyjamas on last week because I wasn't going to get up. It's been done before, I can tell you. Bright pink pyjama bottoms. Anybody, it's nice, isn't it? Just chilling out after you've finished a day's work. I have not got my pyjama bottoms on, which is a good job because I'm gonna have to get back up because I've run out of those particular seed beads. It just makes you wonder during lockdown how many people just had, you know, like their work attire at the top and pyjamas on the bottom half. I think one of the things that really tickled me was seeing I think it was a lawyer in the States that was having a very important session on Zoom, and it was a very serious session, and his kids had obviously changed his Zoom settings. So basically it turned his face into being a pussycat. And he had to continue the whole Zoom. I don't know if it was like a court discussion or quite what it was, but it was so funny, the fact that this guy had to. Does anybody else remember that? That really did make me chuckle, and isn't that typical? Kids doing that. I could imagine my kids actually doing that, knowing fine well that I wouldn't be able to change it back. Right, so we're just getting to the end part, and then we're at the half an hour slot, so that's great. We've got lots of time. Sorry, I'm being very fussy. I'm trying to get them to kind of meet similar size either side. So you can use your gemstone chips, you can use your seed beads, you can use crystals. I dare say you could probably even do a whole necklace of smaller crystals if you want to, but just bear in mind that obviously it will take up rather a lot, and it will keep the cost down of your necklace by using seed beads as well. So the seed beads are really, really well priced. They are £1.30 for a 10-gram bag. 1, 2, 3, 4. Don't need that one. You know, if you just want like 5 grams of each, you can just let me know. I'm quite happy to do sort of half the normal size bag for you if you'd rather. Right, now, where have I put that? Not in there. I'm looking for a red one of these. Oh, I've got it. I've got it. Don't have to get back up again. Right, so I'm going back down. I think I'm going to zoom in because I want you to see actually what I'm doing. All okay so far? Let me know if that all seems good. Right, this is the really, I'm not going to lie, this is the bit that frustrates me a little bit, but it's worth persevering, okay? So this is the end bit. So I popped a seed bead on the end. So I'm going to go back up through the bead. But if anybody's got any tips, anything that works for them with doing something like this. Now, the other thing you need to do is you need to let the weight drop and make sure that you haven't got any unsightly gaps before you start tying knots. Now, one thing I thought might be easier to do, it does mean you keep threading your needle again. Actually, I'm going to part those and add a needle on each end. Right, I'll show you what I've done in a sec, just in case. Right, so I have got I've separated those double threads because those were both on one needle, and I've got each thread on a needle because I think it's going to be a lot easier to actually tie them around each other like so. I think that's so much easier. I'm going to go all the way through these. I'm going to tie my knots a bit further up. So I've done that with one, and I'm going to push the other one up. But I think that what I was doing before, I was tying it round. Now double thread on one needle is just, it's not easy because you find that the knot has a mind of its own as to where it would like to sit, and then you find that the tension is a lot looser than you wanted it. So that's why I've separated these. So tie that around, and then I'm going to just go a bit further up. You don't even have to tie them in the same spot now, but I'm going to go underneath, just do it singly, go through a few more. How are we doing for time? Got plenty of time. Just go around that, tie it again, and just push it through a few more beads. So I'm going to cut that off like so, and then I'm just going to finish this one off in the same way. Do that again. You can either push it through the thread or just around the thread. Push it up through a few more. Right, there we go. So that's that all tied off. Nice and neat. So what we want to do now, we've got this length and we've got the other one. I'm going to place those both together, but we need to actually do like a little peyote band. So I've started one off and I'm actually going to start it from scratch. I'm going to use some darker beads. Now, what shows that better, those or those? I'm kind of thinking the silver lined ones. Let me know while I just have a quick look at your comments. Which are better to see? I have great nails. Oh, they look, thank you, but they look terrible at the moment. I've just taken all of my nail varnish off from the weekend. Hi Nora. Could you do this with crimp chain, and if so, how would you do the tassel bit at the end? Right, yes you could. Good question. I like that idea. At the end you'd just crimp on a selection of beads at the end, Emma. Maybe I could actually look at doing that in another tutorial. That's a great suggestion. Gemma's going to start the rings I did a few weeks ago. Brilliant. Kim loves the rings too. She wears them all the time. Silver. Are they the same size? You could do a mix of each. Silver lined. Yes, I thought the silver lined looked better. Okay. Right. Let's go for the silver lined. Put those away. And let's grab some more thread. I'm using grey thread. I would probably use a white thread maybe with that one, but you're not going to see it, so I'm going to stick with the grey. Right, I'm going to have to borrow, no, I've got a needle, there you go. Excuse me talking to myself. Everybody else talk to themselves. My partner often says, are you talking to yourself or are you talking to me? There's no answer to that really, is there? So you could always pop like a stopper bead on the end if you want to, and if you want a stopper bead, definitely not that one, is thread it on, leave sort of about 4 fingers in width at the end and then go back up, but do not tie it on because it'll be really difficult to take off afterwards. So we are going to thread on 2, 4, 6, 8 seed beads. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Then we are going to pop that down there. Now I like to wrap it round my little finger. You find a way to do it yourselves, and you know, depending on whether you're left or right-handed, whatever works for you. So we're going, that's the first row. So we're going to add 2 seed beads, push those 2 out of the way and go through the next 2. You see that okay? And then pull. So that's what happens. You've got 2 that sit by the side. Then I'm going to add another 2 seed beads and go through the last two. So you're skipping two and you're going over the next two. So I will just pull that tight and I will show you what it looks like, because it's got a total mind of its own. So you've got two there, you've gone through the next group of two, you've got two there, and you've gone through the next group of two. So we're going to turn round and go back up. So you're going to add two, so you skip the first two beads and you go through the ones that are sticking out. Like so. Then you're going to add another two seed beads and you're going to skip those two and go through the next two that are jutting out. Right, let's just hold that so that you can actually see. Does that all seem okay so far? So each row you're adding two lots of two. So we're turning round, going back this way, miss the first two here and then go through the next two after that. Pick up another two. That tail's driving me very slightly mad. Right, pick up another two, and if I can just zoom in enough, so you are going to miss those next two in the row and go through the next two at the end. And when you get to the end of the row, pull your tail, that's where we're at. It's the little building blocks. Is everybody following me so far? And you know, it is one of those things as well, you do need to do it for it to make sense as well. If you're anything like me, where you know it's all right seeing it, but I actually want to do it to see whether or not it works for me. So miss the first two. So what you could do is just put four sort of blocks of four to one side for every row, and then you know after you've done that block of four you're ready to turn. Now my needle's just come undone. Let's do it on the mat, see if you can see that a bit better. Tension is, or can be, quite a challenge to make sure you get that right, and the best way of doing that really is to, at the end of every row, just get it, if it's too slack, pull the beads at the end and pull that back. So we did a ring tutorial, didn't we? Was it last month? I think it was last month. And it was using the same method. How are we doing? We've got 15 minutes, which is good. So I can just carry on with this for a little while longer. Nikki's saying you can always pretend you're on the phone when you're out. Nikki, you're obviously very well practiced, and I like that tip. Brilliant. It's that element of doubt where I'm having a chat with myself and saying, well, should I do that? or should I do that? Not sure. And I'm finding as I'm getting older, I'm getting more indecisive. I'm not liking this indecision. That's what I love about kids. They're like, well, it doesn't really matter, does it? Make a decision and stick with it. Right. So you carry on doing that now. You could say, well, how long do I carry on for? Now that's really up to you as to how tight you want it round the beads. So what I'm going to do is tell you how many rows I've done, and we will transfer that onto the piece that I've just made as well, so that you can see. No problem, Kim. You take care. Thank you for joining. So that's row 1. Right, if I count the rows at the bottom, so I've done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I've got 12 rows at the bottom. And what you also want to make sure, if you look at this, you've got one sticking up at the end there and one sticking up, second one in from the end. If you look at this end, you've got one sticking up there and one on the end. That's how you want it, because when you zip it up, you want them to slot in. If you've got the same end sticking out, it's not gonna fit. Does that make sense? If you imagine a zip where you've got sort of a male and a female side where the two of them slot in, so you just need to make sure that they're not both the same either end. So let's just tidy up a little bit so that you can see as much as possible. Got plenty of time, haven't we? Whoops. Right, let's pop that away because we don't need that one. We do need that one. I think what I'm going to do as well is I'm going to tie this off, because it's going to make life so much easier. So I'm going to tie the tail off. Now to tie the tail off, I'm just going to go back a little bit. Always make sure that you have when you're tying off, that you don't suddenly start going off at angles that your thread's not being. Just tying that around, because you're going to start seeing it. So you can see those are worked in groups of 2. So I'm just tying off by going through groups of 2 beads. So I'm just going to go further down here. Tie off in, I would suggest, 3 places. So I'm going underneath the thread path, tying it off, and then I am just going to push that through a few and cut off. Either cut or use the thread zapper that some of you may have heard of. So let's line these up. So I'm going to keep it on zoom in, if that makes sense, because you're going to want to see how this works with the peyote. I'm getting in a little fuddle. Right, let's try again. So that's that one, and then let's try that one on the top. There we go. So I am going to pop this above this bit here, but I just need to make sure that it goes around my neck. You know, I don't want it stopping the circulation now, do I? Is that going to go over? I don't think it is. I think I'm going to have it down here. Do I or... See, this is what I was saying. Do I or don't I? Right, I'm making a decision. Is that going to stick out though? Well, listen, I can make the mistakes, can't I? And at least we'll know then, won't we, if it doesn't work. Now, I need to put my glass on so I can see what I'm doing. And, right, so I'm wrapping that around those two. And so from this side, I'm going through these two. And then from this side, I'm going through the next two. That's what they call zipping up. And then I'm going through the next two that are jutting out. And then I'm going through the next two that are jutting out the other side. So that zips up so you can't even see it. And then I am just going to come back up. Let's pull that nice and tight. And you can see that that is really nice with the way that's just keeping that together. Now, before I actually stab myself with a needle and tie it off, I am just going to test it, just pop it over my head and make sure that that works for me. Oh, I like that. Right, that's good. You could do that before you actually tie it off. So let's just restring. And I will actually zoom out so you can see the whole thing in a second as well. Gosh, when you take your glasses off, you think, I really do need those. I think you can do without them. I really like strong colours together and mixed in with golds. Oh, for goodness sake. I'm having problems with my needle. There we go. So let's just go back up. And then let's tie off. So go underneath or in between the threads. Let's do that again. Didn't quite go to plan. And then tie a knot in that beforehand. Do the same. I'm just manoeuvring the needle so that I put knots in different places. At least I think I am. Tie that off and just push your needle through a couple more beads and tie off. So you want this peyote section, you know, small enough so that it doesn't drop off the other end. So let's zone out now, shall we? So you can see the finished article. So this is your tails. You might need to do a bit of sort of jigging around with it to make sure it sits properly. So one of each either side. There we go. Now I've stopped fiddling. So there you go. Let me know what you think. Obviously this is going to move around a little bit, but I really love the way you've got those drapes at the end, and then you've got some more accents there. You know, obviously if you want to, you can put more accents further up as well. So what I'll do, I'll try it on and we'll go on the off the overhead so that you can see, but it feels so nice. Right, let's manoeuvre this down a little bit. So there we go. So this goes up and down so that you can adjust it. I just think if it would have gone up here, I think I would have needed, it probably would have worked, but I think I would have needed to make them a little bit longer. But I do really like all the detail and how that actually hangs. So let me know what you think. Let me know if you're feeling inspired to give it a go. Let's just make sure I haven't missed any of your comments. All the time Linda answers to herself, and Kim, that's nice to know. When my old dog was here, I used to pretend I was talking to him. Christine does too. Emma, an idea on a tutorial for this next on crimp chain, and thinking on the crimp chain, instead of the petite bit, you could join the chain together in the middle by threading both crimp chains through 2 or 3 beads. I have to give that some thought. Sue talks to herself and then starts laughing. You don't realise you're doing it, do you? So anyway, I am going to love you and leave you. That's not bad going, is it? It's 2 minutes to go to the hour. So I hope you've enjoyed that. You guys all take care, and I'll speak to you very soon. Bye.